Hey guys, welcome to CDE 101. Today we're going to talk about spooling your reel. There are many methods to go about spooling your reel. I'm going to show you some of the easiest individual methods that I know that we use here within the company. What you're going to need is your rod, the empty spool, cleaned preferably, and about half a length. You don't need your full rod length unless you can't take it apart. Next, you're going to need your line. A method of cutting your line. I use nail clippers for this process. And a book. I use a phone book or an old school book, something along those lines. First step of the process is going to be taking your line and running it through the bottom eye hole . Sorry about that. Opening your bail and then tying a knot on to your spool. I generally just use an overhand knot, a couple of them. A lot of people are against this, mainly because of the strength of the knot. You do lose a lot of strength using just overhand knots, as you may have already known. If you are worried about getting spooled, and I've never been spooled in my years of fishing, then you may want to go with a different knot, like fly fishermen, and go with an arbor knot. That's typically the most commonly used knot for tying your line onto your spool. Nice and tight. The key is not to do too many knots. I've only done 2 so far, even though it seems like I probably have done 5. Just slow. Make sure it's tight, and then cut it. The reason you don't want to have too many, as you may think you'd be increasing your strength, you're also causing an area for your line to catch as you get lower and lower in line on your spool. So let's cut our line off here. Make sure you have the correct end, and cut as close as possible. Okay. So next we're going to close our spool, or bail, sorry. Take our line and run it through maybe the middle of your book. Depends on how big your book is. And then make it nice and taut. In the beginning, you may have to hold your line as you reel to get it going. You'll eventually get a feel for it as you pull line through if you need to put through less pages or more pages. Right now, I'm running pretty good tightness. It's about halfway through the book. Now all you do is just, actually I'm going to take my line out and put it through less. Now we'll reel in. And that's about it. You're just going to reel in. You don't want to ever overdo your spool. And that's a key trick here, is you want to keep a good tightness. And a lot of people like to hold it, or other methods. This is, it generally keeps a constant tension on your line while you reel in to get proper laying onto your spool. So now I'm just going to reel in for a while. And as I was just saying, you want to make sure you don't overline your spool. That will tend to lead to a lot of problems, as in crow's nests, not casting properly. And what you generally find from people when they're in the beginning of the season, they want to put as much line on there as possible because they don't want to run out and they want this to last the whole season. Well, it's better to put half that line on, fish for a few weeks that way, maybe a month, and then partway through the season, re-spool again. If you tend to lose spinners a lot or get snagged up a lot, well, yeah, you're going to want to put more line on. And depending on your spool or your reel, there will be a little line that exists either underneath or on the other side of the spool, the upper surface of the lower flange. These indicators will help you properly spool your reel. and because again, you don't want to have too much. So now let's go to another application where maybe you forgot to spool your line at home and you are out on the field. Okay, so now you're creekside and you realize your spool on your reel is almost out, or maybe you just plain old forgot. Either way, there is a way to handle this. So now we removed the line and already tied it back on. We put our spool onto the hood of our car and we hold, keeping tension on the line, and reel in. And this will take some time and won't be as quick as if you did it with the book. You also have to make sure you maintain your line at the other end of the spool. Another option is to take your line, run it through your car antenna, keeping it tight, keeping it at the right angle, because if you don't, you're going to start wrapping around the antenna, and then reel. As you see, I'm holding the rod end into my side, into my hip, holding the line between my fingers and reeling. Alright, so now you're creekside and you realize, oh man, I need to really spool my reel. I need to get some more line on there because I didn't have enough. And luckily you have some line in your back. Well, just like before when you were creekside by the car, you can put the spool on the ground, hold the line between your fingers and reel. If you aren't keeping proper tension and it starts to fail, you can always utilize a tree, remove all the debris around the area, put it through the hole like with the antenna. Keeping tension on the line, you can now reel to spool yourself up. Well, that about wraps it up here at CDE 101. Looking forward to see you next time. Heavy lines.